thank you. We'll have opportunities this season to do good and to be kind and a little bit more patient, and I hope that we always take an opportunity to do that. So, and I'll also put in a plug for Kaysville Gives. It's coming up, and it's a great way to give back to families in our community if you can. And then I just want to close with a quote by JFK. It says, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." And I just want to say thanks so much for being here tonight. I'm excited for the youth court swearing in. And with that, we'll go ahead and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Hunt. We appreciate that. At the beginning of our meeting, we have an opportunity called Call to the Public, where people sign up to speak to us. We don't have anyone signed up to speak, and so we will not have that. We will now move on to the presentations and awards. First of all, we'll have the swearing in of our Kaysville Youth Council. So I'll invite their advisor to come up. And those of you who are here to be sworn in, please come up to the front. But Kim, go ahead and...
I'm Kim Smith. I'm Kaysville Youth Court advisor, and it's Kaysville Youth Court, not council.
Did I say council? Okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yes. Those get messed up all the time. I'm excited to be here tonight. We started Youth Court in 2000, so we're into our 23rd year, which is great. I have an amazing group of kids, judges, and they're super busy. So I'm not sure how many we have here tonight, but regardless, I'm going to read all their names and have the ones who are here come up and just stand right here in front of you guys, and then Mayor, I'll have you walk around to administer the oath to them. So a lot of them, I think, are involved in the Davis High musical and things like that. So, all right, this year we have 21 judges: Landon Jacobs, McKay Clemens, Ryan Dimmick, and if you hear your name, come on up. Hermone Mulugeta, Abby Lusk, Marissa Blocker, Lexi Broadbent, Nisa Kuma, Kate Miller, Haley Christensen, Zipporah Miles, Lisa Von Bose, Annabelle Otterson, Kim Waite, Bree Thomas, Abby Lusk, Mia Schumer, Lucy Willard, Ruby Miller, Emma Gardner, Lily Kimball. And then the advisors are myself and Tina Johnson. Our Kaysville Police Department liaison is Sergeant Cade Bradshaw. And our Kaysville City Council liaisons are Nate Jackson and Abby Hunt. And I'll turn the time over to you, Mayor.
I'll come down there. Okay. Hi, guys. All right, sorry, audience. Have to look at my back for a minute. All right, thanks for being here. We're so excited to have a new youth court for this school year. So we appreciate your time. For those that don't know, this is a voluntary opportunity for service within the community. And the purpose of youth court is to, maybe I'll come over here. Yeah. The purpose of youth court is to provide an opportunity for kids who make mistakes to have an opportunity to be mentored by their peers. So if they're willing to admit that they've made a mistake and done something that was wrong, illegal, then they have the opportunity to go through this process to meet with these peer judges who will then mentor them and help them to make better decisions, give them some skills, give them some great support, and opportunities for service within the community. And so Kim has had this program for the last 20 plus years, 23 years, and so we really appreciate her. She's also a volunteer. So we're grateful that you guys are going to do this. Okay. All right, I've got this to read for you. Congratulations on being chosen as a youth judge for the 2023 Youth Court. You will be performing a great service for our community, and we appreciate and we recognize your service. Membership in the Kaysville Youth Court is a privilege. As a member of the Kaysville Youth Court, you are expected to serve as a role model for the community at all times. You are expected to uphold strongest ethical standards of confidentiality. You are expected to demonstrate outstanding citizenship in school, at home, and in the community. Once again, we congratulate you on your achievement. I will now ask you to raise your right hand for the administration of the Kaysville Youth Court oath. Okay, so right hand's up. All right. And you respond with a yes. Well, yes, to all these questions. Okay. Do you solemnly affirm that you will keep confidential all information to your knowledge as a member of the Kaysville Youth Court? Yes. Okay. Do you solemnly affirm that all of your actions as a member of the Kaysville Youth Court will be free of bias and prejudice toward any other person's age, race, sex, religion, national origin, or disability? Yes. Okay. Do you solemnly affirm that you will faithfully discharge and perform all responsibilities and duties required of you as a member of Kaysville Youth Court? Yes. All right, thank you. As mayor of the city of Kaysville, I now appoint you as official members of the 2023-2024 Kaysville Youth Court. Congratulations. Thank you. Stay up here. Okay, we'd like to get a picture with you. So if you'll come maybe before in front of the podium and line up and squish together, we'd love to have a picture. All right, let me go. Okay, thank you so much for being here. All right, we'll move on to the rest of our agenda now. If I can. Okay, now I'll invite Haley Dixon to come up. Are you here? You are here. Haley is going to give us a little bit of information about Mercy Housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Council. I just have to tell you, I'm so impressed with your Youth City Council and your Youth Court. I'm over Youth City Council in my city, and your city is actually one that we look to a lot to try and implement because you have such a huge Youth City Council. I did not know you had such a huge Youth Court, too. So I've just, congratulations on having that going into the, I think they all stuck out, but the volunteers, amazing, that's really neat. My name is Haley Dixon. I am here with Weber State University. I am with my group of fellow students. We are in the undergraduate program for the social work program at Weber State. And we have been working on a project with Mercy Housing. And I'm going to actually begin with just having Hannah Pendergrass come on up. She is, what is your title exactly? Senior case manager over Mercy Housing. She's just going to introduce it to you guys, and then we'll pick up from there.
Thank you. I think a lot of you are already familiar with Mercy Housing and what we do, but for the sake of this topic, I'm going to give a brief overview of kind of who we are, share some stats. So Mercy Housing in Kaysville is Francis Peakview Apartments. It's 119 units of very affordable housing. We serve only low-income families, seniors, and folks with disabilities. We are funded through RD, or Rural Development, and LIHTC, or Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, is kind of how we are affordable. We have 221 residents in our 119 buildings. These are pretty recent stats. 89 kids under the age of 18, 105 adults, and 27 seniors over 65. 87% of our kids come from single-parent households, and we're a pretty diverse community with 38% identifying as Hispanic or Latinx. The average income of our residents, so the average is about $11,000, $11,876. It's almost $12,000. The median income is about $6,137, which is compared to the median in Kaysville, which when these numbers were pulled earlier this year, it was $100,500. So really a vast discrepancy between the median income of the general public and the residents that we serve. That kind of gives you a snapshot of the economic state of a lot of our residents, but what it doesn't show is all of the strengths of our residents when I share those statistics with you. Mercy Housing is not just an affordable housing unit. We also have a resident services program, which is what I do. I'm there to provide services for our residents. So we have an after-school program, a food pantry. We do classes for our residents and a lot of bringing services on site to help our residents get connected with resources in the community. And that also doesn't tell you how amazing our residents are. And so I'm really excited about this project that these students from Weber have been working on with me this semester, and we just had to share it with you. We're super grateful for all the support that the city has given us, especially in the last few years through Kaysville Gives, through going to our, showing up at our programs and supporting us, as well as the RAMP grant that we were so excited to have received from Kaysville City. But yeah, I just couldn't resist the opportunity to share this with you as well. I'm really excited about it. So I'll turn the time over to the group who's doing all of the work and let them kind of share what it is we're talking about. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. Okay, so, ooh, it works. Okay, so who are we? We are, as I said, undergraduate students of the social work program. If all goes well, we should be graduating in May. We are all very excited, especially if we can survive this semester. It's been brutal. But as part of our macro class, we needed a project that would benefit the community as a great whole and really have a focus on helping those in need, being that we are going to be social workers someday. And our focus turned towards working with Mercy Housing and Kaysville City. Our goal for this project is to bridge the gap in the demographics within Kaysville City. So as Hannah just mentioned about the income gaps here, and not only just income, but just in diversities of these residents who live within Mercy Housing are a very diverse group from the rest of the population within Kaysville City. And having them hope to feel more a part of the community by building unity within it. By bringing awareness to Mercy Housing and the resources it provides, and also just helping to share their stories and their livelihoods of those at Mercy Housing. I did not know any of the residents when I first started working with Hannah, and I would have to concur with her that they're amazing. I've been able to sit down with some of them and hear their stories, and I feel like it's people who deserve to be heard, no doubt about it. So what we've been doing is we've been collecting recipes and stories from the residents at Mercy Housing. Currently we have over 50 recipes collected, and the cookbook is sitting about over 100 pages. They have been, I have to just say, not all of our classmates are here tonight. We have, is there 9 of us? There's 9 of us. We split into 2 groups. So we're one side working this side. There's another group that's putting together the cookbook. 2 of our classmates are ESL students. So they've been translating all of those recipes from English to Spanish or from Spanish to English. What we would like to do is provide these cookbooks to the residents of Kaysville to help introduce them to the residents of Mercy Housing. So many of the residents within Kaysville City don't even know Mercy Housing exists or how it's helping individuals in need. We would like to be able to give each resident of Mercy Housing a copy of the cookbook to help build unity within their own community and a sense of pride. And then the other thing that we were hoping to be able to accomplish is to provide City Hall with complimentary copies that you can hand out to new residents. In my city, when you open a new utility account, you sometimes get like a welcome packet. We were hoping maybe it could go out that. I'm not sure the dynamics of Kaysville City, but I thought that would be a good way to introduce Mercy Housing to new residents of Kaysville City. So we put together 2 price points on how the City Council can help. We were able to find a really low-cost option to printing this book, but however, we currently don't have any funds to help pay for them. So we were hoping that City Council help. We gave 2 different options for you guys to think about. Option A would be about $1,000, and it would print roughly 125 copies of the cookbook. We would love to have Kaysville City be the sponsor of the cookbook, and then there's a PDF file that we can have available on the city's website if desired. A second option would be $1,200. It prints the same amount of cookbooks, but we would love to get a picture of the City Council in color on the back that it's showing you guys as a sponsor. The color pages are just a little bit more expensive. It would be able to provide more information about Mercy Housing in color. It also include more of their stories, just more pages again, the more the price goes up. But it would also be able to offer some of color pictures of the residents of Mercy Housing, and then of course the PDF file available to place on the city's website. So I'm going to turn the time over to Hillary and Tiffany. They are actually residents of Kaysville City, so I thought they deserve to have their voice be heard in this project too.
Thank you for listening to us. We're so happy to be here and just have had such an incredible experience working with Mercy Housing. And we both are residents of Kaysville, and it was something that I didn't know about or understand the need that was here. But as I have connected with these beautiful people and community, I just see that we would not be only a benefit to them, but they would be a benefit to our community as well. And just understanding the diverse background, I just think we could use a little more of that here. We are all pretty similar, and I feel like they would add a gift to us, and just as a resident would also support this, and as a student. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that is our presentation. I have one last slide. There you go. Thank you. So I will hand that over, and if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer, or Hannah can be here to answer, whatever.
A question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Councilmember Adams.
So just real quick, the funds you're looking for.
Do you want to go back a slide so you have it in front of you there? Thank you.
Now you're wanting to sell copies of the cookbook to citizens?
No, they would be complimentary. You would be able to send them out to the community. We did talk about maybe potentially selling them, and the proceeds would go to Mercy Housing, but
Yeah.
for this segment of it, it would just be complimentary offers.
Okay. And so the 125 copies are more, I mean, I guess I'm just curious how you came to that number. I love this, by the way. This is awesome.
Great.
If we went back another page, I really want to eat whatever that thing, I don't know where you found that,
I know, it looks yummy,
but that looks so good. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich is what I had tonight. So anyway, I guess I'm just curious, the number, I mean, you know, is that just sort of what you're thinking would be, and that we would start giving that out to, like you said, to new?
Yeah, so the both of those options are just the cost of what it will be to print. I think the 120 was going to be $875, but we still had another 15 recipes that we wanted to create or to collect. So that was just rounding up of what the cost is to print that many copies of the book.
Okay.
And then same with the option B, if you put colored pictures in there or colored paper, it just makes the cost go up. So it's just the cost of the printing.
And if I can speak to the number of copies, we have 119 households, right? So we wouldn't be able to give every single household a copy of the recipe book plus donate to the city. But what we've told our residents is if they participate in the cookbook and share a recipe, then they'll get the cookbook for free. So do you know how many residents right now? We're guessing we're going to have between like 30 and 60 of our residents participate. We've collected a bunch. We're kind of doing our final push this week with our senior citizens and our families with little kids. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have more of a definite number of how many residents we've told can get a free book for participating in the project. So it's kind of half and half. We're guessing about half of the 125 will go to the residents who participated, and then the other half could be for the city.
And this was just basically a starting point for us. You know, if we feel that there's a need or a desire for more, we're all over that. But
Okay.
that's obviously up to your discretion.
Councilmember Jackson.
I love this idea so much. And I would even go as far to say I would be happy to take a little bit of money out of my council fund to help go for this. If we all do 200, that would be 1,200. I don't know about having my picture on the book, but I love the idea of everyone who deserves one gets one at Mercy Housing. And this is just so creative and fantastic. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? So I just, a couple questions. I love it.
Yeah.
In the cookbook, is there an ask in there? Is there a
An
link
ask?
to, well, an ask. So people, if they come into the city and the city gives them, you know, welcome to Kaysville, and by the way, we want you to know about this, and here's an opportunity to serve or to give back. What is the ask? So if someone gets a cookbook and they say, and they read the story, is there anything for them to be able to do at that point?
No,
I guess.
that's
How can they
actually a great
contribute?
idea. We were talking about just bringing more awareness to it, but I wonder if we could even just get a little.
In lieu of a council picture, maybe consider
Okay.
that. That would be.
Yeah, no, that would be actually really easy, something
Okay.
easy. We could sync up with Mercy Housing, just QR code, but if they
Okay.
want to donate directly to Mercy Housing.
And then how soon would they be available?
Well, we are wrapping up, do you remember, I think we're wrapping up this last week. We're hoping our semester ends sometime in December. My days are all blurred.
Okay.
But we are hoping to be able to get these absolutely into the publishing for them. They are, the cookbook is pretty much ready to go,
Okay.
minus these last like 15 recipes we're trying to collect that need to be translated still.
Okay.
A couple of them are coming in Spanish
And then if I can,
Yeah.
if I can add to that. So because our semester's ending, we're trying to get it done before the end of the year. But we had also talked about doing maybe some kind of unveiling event in February, just to kind of push out from the holidays. That's still to be determined and discussed, but we thought that could be a cool way to celebrate the cookbook. And we'd love to invite elected officials to that unveiling, but we're not quite at that point yet. But that could be. Yeah.
Have you guys come and meet some of these amazing residents and try some food and
That would be great.
celebrate them.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson,
Oh,
did you have a question?
Just a follow up to that. Did you say you have like a food pantry?
Yes, yep, we have a
Okay.
food pantry that is mostly stocked via the Bountiful Community Food Pantry.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was a way maybe people could bring food to get a book too, or whatever
that's a good
other
idea.
needs that your residents would need.
Yeah,
so.
I can easily
You
come
can
up with
do that.
an
Okay.
ask.
Love the
Yeah.
idea of the city kind of partnering on something like that to encourage people to give.
Yeah, I'm more than we were hoping. I think that would be amazing. Thank you for that idea, Mayor Tran.
Yeah, well, everybody. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Anyone else? Hey, thanks for coming out.
very
Thanks for
much.
presenting this. This is fantastic.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
your time.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. All right. Appreciate that. I'll now turn the time over to our Kaysville Power Director, Brian Johnson, to report on his department.
Mayor Tran, Council, City Administration, thanks for having me here tonight to do my presentation on the Power Department. This last year's been a really fun one for me, to be able to see a lot of changes take place, both here in our city and in the Power Department. There's been some really fun improvements on my standpoint and my point of view, things that I've wanted to see start to the ball to start rolling and happening my whole tenure of being here. So it's really fun for me to see that. So this is just a couple photos that I took throughout this last year, a few of the projects that our guys were working on, incidences and things that were going on. Just kind of to give you a view of our everyday life out there on the power lines here in Kaysville. So currently here in Kaysville, we're serving 10,679 customers. You can see the breakdown there between residential, city-owned build, commercial, and industrial. Our power grid covers 10.5 square miles. We currently have 16 employees in the power department. We had a total sales of 166,332, 154 kilowatt hours last year. So definitely increasing. the amount of demand that we have for power here, and we cover 161 miles total within our city between transmission and distribution on our power lines. So there's a lot of miles of power lines there to cover amongst our staff, and I just really love how proficient and how amazing work they do. This is the breakdown of our energy resources that we get our power from, between coal, natural gas, wind, hydro, heat recovery, the pool. If you actually add those up, it doesn't come exactly to 100, but they're all rounded. So for those that are math wizards, I'm not quite that slow. So, but anyways, one of the projects or one of the resources that I actually neglected to put up there, I changed it, but I didn't realize I changed it or put it in there after I'd submitted it to Anne Marie. So up there under coal, there is the IPA, and it's being converted right now into a gas plant. And I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention that the IPA is under attack right now in state legislation. There's a very good possibility we will need your support in the near future to help with the bill that's been presented that is going to be very devastating for that resource. And so that's, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there is a concern there that we're having. We've had representation at the Hill just this week, hoping to be able to voice the impact that this will have on the 23 municipalities that are all invested in this resource. So it's kind of a scary deal what they're doing. So just kind of wanted to throw that jab out there and bring it to your attention. We do, Kaysville is part of smart energy programs through UAMPS. UAMPS is the organization in which we go through for all of our purchasing of power and the energy programs, smart energy programs that Kaysville signed up through them are listed here between refrigerators, different appliances, air conditioning units, all those kinds of things. So this is all on our website. Residents, just in the last probably 3 or 4 months, for some reason, we've had actually a pretty large uptick in residents asking, I can't think of the other word, asking about these programs. It is through UAMPS, so they don't actually apply for these refunds through the city, but they are there. If you're a Kaysville resident, you'll still get the money anyway. So it's kind of nice that we're participating in that.
Hey, Brian?
Yeah.
Question, is that just like a rebate that folks would get?
Yep.
If they purchase energy efficient?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So and all the information's online. You just go on, hit the rebates, go to UAMPS, and it'll have a complete breakdown of all the criteria, what it entails, the details to what you need to do. But exactly, if you purchase something that meets the requirements, it's a rebate that you'll receive. Currently in Kaysville City, the projects that we are currently working on or hoping to work on here in the near future, the DATC underground rebuild. The DATC is one of our largest customers for the power department, and it's an old system. This last year we focused on rebuilding their main feeder coming off of Main Street and the feeder that goes up behind. It's resolved a lot of concerns, a lot of issues, a lot of outages that we have experienced there over the course of the last several years. It resolved a lot of those, but in doing that, we've also found several situations where our wire and different things that are feeding the DATC are getting old and worn out, and we're just trying to stay ahead of the ball where they're not going to be experiencing outages for extended periods of time, so we can more preventative maintenance there. Subdivisions that are currently going on: Westgate, Pintel Estates, Johnson Farms, Huckleberry Estates. We're currently working with the West Davis corridor and the Connector Road. to provide the power for their needs. Maintenance rebuilds, our main focus right now for our maintenance rebuilds are in King Clarion area, up there on the east end of town around Highway 89. We're focusing mostly on our open drops and rebuilding the lines, getting them up higher in the air, and then addressing low voltage concerns from extended, really long secondary services that they used to do. So those are kind of our focus areas right now. We've installed several switches throughout the city to help with outages and to be able to manipulate the direction of feed when we do have an incident to reduce the amount of time that people are out while we make repairs. Substations, as you guys know or aware, we now have a substation tech. He's been here for long enough now to really stir the pot up on the needs from our substations being neglected for many years. And we just barely today, in fact, as I was leaving my office at 5:30 to come to the building here, it went 100% complete, the starting stages of the SCADA system in our substations, which is huge. We're super, super excited. We will be able to have control and see the functionality of our demand, our usages, our peak hours, our equipment, operational purposes, all from a computer in the office. We will be able to do a huge variety of changes that typically require somebody to drive to the substation and drive to another substation to make the changes and connect the two. We'll all be able to do all of it from a computer, and it's just super awesome. They'll be able to monitor all of our equipment. As we know, substation transformers are in the millions, and so it's nice now that we have a program that is going to be monitoring those transformers and notifying us. We've made huge leaps and bounds this year also with tree and vegetation control. We're hoping that this winter we're going to see a significantly less amount of outages due to weather-related concerns with trees and vegetation. And then our outage management system. The outage management system is in the works. We're hoping to deploy it the first week of January, 100% to the residents. We're super excited about it. These are just a couple bulletin points of the things the outage management system is going to provide for the city. But reliable notification systems, better records of outage history, pinpoint trouble areas and bad equipment, communication with residents, troubleshooting, prediction support, live outage map for residents, power grid mapping and direction feed information, power grid equipment identification. So there's so many things that this encompasses. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's really just the more we dig into this system, we will be ready by the first of the year to be able to implement it to the residents and be able to benefit from what it has to offer. But it's going to be several more months before we learn how to use its full capabilities and utilize it in an effective manner. So, but really quick tonight, I just wanted to take a minute and run you through an outage and just kind of be able to see some of the things it can do. This is an example of our mapping. And really quick, while I switch this over, I just want to give a shout out to our IT department. Ryan, Judd, and Jordan have been absolutely amazing and a very integral part in getting all of our GIS, our mapping, our web page and everything else set up and making it user friendly, and it's just been phenomenal working with them. But this is the page that we see when the staff opens up our OMS system. And so basically a customer or a resident of Kaysville calls in, they'll just go in here and they can take a series of information from them, their name, their phone number, their location, and I asked Councilmember Adams
Yes, I did.
if it was okay before this
As long as he
started.
doesn't shut off my power.
Yeah. So this is what it pulls up. So all they do is type in their name. So if they typed in Adams and there's multiple Adams throughout the city, it's going to pull up all of them. And then they can go through and ask him questions and select the correct one. Once they've selected the name, but he's the only one in Kaysville, so it just automatically pulls up. And here it gives them their information where they can go in and take their complaint. Do you have power, partial power, blinking? And there's a whole variety of different concerns, things that may be going on or that may be having an issue with. We're going to say he's out of power. You know, he heard a loud boom. They can make comments there. That just goes to the staff for their information and help us to pinpoint what's going on. They'll be able to go down and check the notifications. Right now, he's just signed up for a callback, but they'll ask, do you want to receive a text message about this outage or receive information regarding what's occurring here? And then they can do all that. If they've already enrolled, it'll automatically come up. But if they haven't enrolled, then they can fill out this information. Now, one thing, if they haven't enrolled and they fill out this information when they call in, this is only good for that one incident. It'll revert back after the incident. They won't stay enrolled. Anyways, so they can go down, go ahead and submit it, and at that time, it's then sent to the power department. The power department will then be able to...
has been made. New outage ticket.
We are informed, so we're notified. That's how I get my notifications that there's been a new ticket. It'll be sent to us, and at that point, we can go into here and either select it and look at it, or we have the option of going and looking at the map. And the map shows, it pinpoints the house and shows us the outage. Now I'm colorblind, so I don't really see it, but supposedly there's green and yellow lines now. The yellow lines represent a prediction, and it should go to this transformer. So everything that transformer is feeding will be in yellow, and that's basically saying this is our prediction. It's not saying that that's what the outage is,
Right.
but it's giving us an understanding of where it might be. Now let's say a few other houses call in, and they've made some complaints as well, saying our power's out, and they feed off this transformer or this transformer or this one, and it's all fed from the same source. The prediction will then jump and say we have multiple transformers or residents out, and the prediction will jump over here to this switch. This switch is what feeds that whole subdivision. And it will tell us if it's only A phase, or it's only B phase, or it's only C phase transformers that are seeing the outage. It will tell us that. It'll give us prediction and say, you have an A phase in this subdivision, or you have all three phases, which is huge for us. That's knowledge that we have to go out and try and figure out if we don't know. And there's no way for a resident to give us that. And so this is just, it really gives our guys a really good direction before they even arrive of what's going on. So they can go, at this point, if it is this device, we can then click on that device and tell it that there's an outage. And you can see here that it's the predicted, and it is that transformer. So we'll go ahead and confirm our outage, and you'll see that now the yellow will turn. Let me move the map. Should turn red. Okay, it turns red. At that point, everybody that is enrolled in the OMS system as a resident of Kaysville that is out of power received a notification. They just received a text message, a phone call, or an email, whatever they're enrolled in, that says, hey, this is Kaysville City Power. We're aware. We're working on it. And please be patient. We're gonna get her done. So at this point, we have people responding. We can go back in once we have guys on the ground and they have an idea of what it's going to take, they can go in here and we can put a restore time. So it's restore time of 1 hour. We'll update it. Everybody on that just barely received an update. It says a new restoration time of 1 hour. Or I can click on this. I can go up here, hit notification, and I can now notify through these resources all of these. That's everyone that's out of power on that transformer right there. And I can notify them and do a custom thing. It says, we're aware there was an incident due to safety. We're now prolonging or pushing your restore time another 30 minutes. That allows us to interact directly with the residents. So it's just, as far as our abilities to be able to get information out to the residents with an outage is just so much quicker, so much better on that regard. But then it also opens up and has so many different assets and availabilities for our workers, for the power department to be able to rely on, to be able to see, do we need to go to the substation? Do we need to go to a switch? What equipment is failing? Are we seeing, what kind of voltages are we seeing? And those types of things. So it's really, really awesome. So one more thing, if there is an outage and say a resident's not part of it and they call in like my power's out, our staff has the ability to go in here and type in their information again, and it'll pull it up, and it'll tell our staff as soon as they call and they pull up their information that, hey, yep, we are seeing that you have an outage. Your restore time is 8:41 p.m. And they'll have the notes, the things that are going on there. It shows that our guys are on scene. This is what's going on, and they'll be able to help out with all the information there and be able to have it at hand to be able to give to the residents. They won't be waiting for us to call and try and give them updates.
So is the
you're just anyway. So as soon as we're done, one last step. I'll just show you really quick. So as soon as we're done and everything's fixed, we can go back on and we can click on the outage and close it out. And then this is all for our staff's information for report purposes, notes, everything else. What the cause was, we'll say an arrest or blue, and we'll close that item. We'll close that outage out. At that point, you'll see that on the map, it now went back to the normal color, and all those residents received a text message that says your power should be restored, so that if it's not restored for some reason, they know they can call back in. Another feature that isn't showing here, I don't have any way to simulate it at this time on here, is this is also tied to our AMI system, our metering system. So we have the capability of registering and seeing meters are out before residents even call in, being able to respond. When we close out outages, we'd be able to have the ability to go in and make sure that all the switching that took place, put everything back to normal, that there isn't anybody that's still out that we think shouldn't be, and we're not going home with residents that are still out of power thinking it's been repaired. So that does unfortunately happen occasionally on large outages when there's a lot of movement in directional feeding, which this also does. If you zoom in, this is another feature that to me is, of it by itself, is super, super critical, but it's not going to pop up for me. But it'll show on these lines, it'll show the direction in which it is being fed. So my guys can go in and they can see the exact path that the power is taking to get from the substation over here over to the resident's house over here. And that is, in the power world, is really, really just super awesome to be able to know. Of course, we double check and we test before we do anything for safety purposes, but to have an understanding of how it's being fed to that location, especially in emergency situations, is a huge safety factor and just absolutely awesome. So, but just in a really small nutshell, that's a very fast, basic what this OMS system will do. We do want to, I'm going to go ahead and unplug my computer. We can go back to, but we do want to do a mock run with the City Council in the middle of December, where we will be able to have you enrolled. We will ask a few of you to call in and report an outage, where our staff will then go through the process that they're going to go normally. Okay. You will call our power department's number. You will report an outage. They will record it, send it to us. You'll get a text message. You'll be able to see exactly how it goes through the sequence of events. We're going to play around with different scenarios with each of you and just kind of let you experience and see what it is that will be on the resident side. Of course, you won't be able to see everything that we are seeing and being able to utilize this wonderful technology on our side. But just give a feel and be able to just do a test run, see if we have any hiccups or concerns or things that we need to address before we go live in January. So, but in a nutshell, that's our OMS system.
Just while you're waiting for that to pull up, can I ask a quick question, Mayor?
You may.
You were talking about the OMS and then the other one's EMS, is it?
Are you referring to SCADA?
Mm-hmm.
SCADA.
For the substations?
Oh, I don't know. The one that you'd be notified without somebody having to call in.
Oh, AMI.
AMI, okay. So
yeah.
I guess my question is, like, does all of that information, because you were showing like information from somebody calling in and reporting it, right, and then plugging it in, is there a situation where those types of things populate just naturally from like
without anyone calling in?
Yeah. Does it have to, I guess that's my question, does it have to be a call in? Are you relying, because you're saying like the 4 houses, right? Or the 3 or whatever, however many houses, that would require all of those different houses to call.
Correct. Yep. So right now, straight out of the gate, it is going to be set up so that we're functioning very similar to the way that it is now. We will be dependent on the residents calling in.
Okay.
But what it will do is it will, instead of 50, 60, 70 people calling one after another to find out what's going on and to report it, we will be able to notify them, all of them, super fast, that we're aware of the outage and what's going on. Now, we do have the capability as we get enrolled and as we get familiar with it to change settings. And Ryan's doing a phenomenal job, and we may even have it set up so that we will have some of this beforehand even. But we will have notifications sent to our staff, not if one single little meter goes out. We have production meters and things that go in and out all the time. We have services that are in the day that are being done, and so we're not going to be dealing with that, but we will receive notifications as staff if there are outages without people calling in. We haven't determined how or what quantity we're going to do that, but if there's a group of AMI meters, if there's a bundle that have reported, it will notify us if we change the settings and tell it to do so.
Okay.
We haven't determined yet what that looks like. But yes, we will have some organization of that form.
But there's no way for you to so I call in, you were showing that, I call in and say my power's out. Is there a way for you to pop up and see okay, his is out, but also 2 blocks away, theirs is out also?
Yes.
You can do that.
Yes.
So I guess that was the only thing when you pulled up that map that I was confused about. It wasn't just, you're not relying on all 4 of those houses or all 10 of those houses to call in. Mm-hmm. You just rely on at least one of those phone calls to come in. So
the AMI, as soon as a meter goes out, it doesn't have to, people don't have to call in. So we may not receive a notification, but say your power's out, and I pull up the map.
Yeah,
you call
it'll be red.
Yep, I pull up the map, and I will see a bunch of circles, little, well, they're gray to me, I don't know. Yeah. But there's a bunch of little circles, and that's the AMI meters, and there will be one by your house, and there will be one anywhere the power. I'll pull it up, and I go on the OMS system. It's set up right now. It's working. The AMI meters are communicating right now, and I will go open it up all the time, and I will see those meters there. I just didn't receive the notification that they're out, but I'll see them, and I'll know that something's going on there. I'll know there's an outage. Most of the time, it's our guys working on the lines. Anyways, and so, but yeah, we'll be able to see that as soon as I look at your house. I look at your map there. I will be able to, even if more people don't call in, I will be able to do my own predictive analysis. And it has a feature on that right-hand side. If you remember, there was a map on the right-hand side. There was all those tools. There's one that's upline, and I can just look at the meters, at the AMI meters, and say, yep, I got to go upline. And I'll hit upline from your house. It'll go to the transformer. I'll hit upline from your house. It'll go to the next switch. I'll hit upline, and it'll automatically go to the feed, and it'll highlight it. So once I see that the highlight is everywhere that outage is, I can then create that outage from that device, and it'll automatically send it out to everybody, even though you're the only one that called in.
Makes sense. Okay.
So, and then one more feature that I thought of is if we have a scheduled outage, it also allows us to go in and send a customized notification to everybody involved in that scheduled outage that, hey, in 3 days from now, we're going to be working on your lines behind your house. We're going to predict you'll be out of power at this time for 30 minutes, and just give them those notifications. Then we can do it again just before it happens.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. These are the projects that we have that we're hoping to start on here in the near future. The Schick substation is at the final stages of engineering. We were hoping to have the engineering and all the design and everything done with the first of this year. So as you can tell, we're a little ways behind on the ball there, but so we have to have those blueprints and everything to be able to move forward. We do still have some 2400 here in Kaysville that we're trying to still move the ball, get the ball rolling, and getting that up to a more efficient voltage. Direct buried cable, we have direct buried cable in Kaysville, throughout parts of Kaysville that is 50, 60 years old, and it's at the very end of its lifespan. So we're hoping to start the process of getting that replaced and be able to have more reliable power. Upsizing wire on our main feeder lines. Councilmember Blackham had a conversation a few weeks ago with me with the concern of EV charging. It's a changing world, as we all know. It is, and that was a very, very legitimate concern and a very good question that he brought to me. And this is part of it. Our main feeder lines, potentially we're going to need to go through. There's sections of it now that are underrated, and before it becomes too big of a headache and we have issues because we have more demand than we have capacity or capability to feed through the changes of increase in electric vehicles. We also are going to have to change the dynamics where we'll probably have 2 peak hours. We'll peak during the day and we'll peak at night because people's cars all start kicking on. Mm-hmm. Hopefully residents know that they need to program their electric vehicles so that they kick on in the middle of the night. But yeah, we're just kind of still working on identifying and repairing damaged infrastructure and the rebuild of King Clarion. So that's both current projects and future projects. And we'll leave it at that. You have any questions for me?
Councilmember Jackson.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you and all of your staff are just on the forefront of this, and I feel like this is really going to transform the way we communicate as a city and function and the power. Usually every time the power goes out, I either have neighbors coming to me and asking me. The last thing I want to do is call you or your guys to slow you down. So I usually go to Facebook and you just start reading all the comments and try to paint a picture of what's going on. So this is going to be awesome in that regard. And so 2 questions for you. are you, with this program, are you able to determine if certain equipment or parts or transformers are starting to go before there's a power outage?
No, we don't. As far as the technology of the outage management system, it does not have the ability to predict if equipment will fail.
Okay.
But we can get a history from it and see if there's trouble areas, or it'll also our Yukon system will notify us of voltages that are off, if they're receiving low voltages, things like that. And so we can try and stay ahead of it, but at the end of the day, we just try to keep an eye on things that we know cause equipment failure and to stay ahead of it.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Mayor?
Appreciate you. Oh,
May I?
yes, Councilmember.
Sorry. I just wanted to say thanks for everything you and your team do. It's no small feat implementing this whole new system, and on top of that, you do like so many other things. You've tried to explain them to me a few times, and it pretty much always goes over my head. So I appreciate that you're there doing it. I know that the power people are in demand, so I'm just glad to have you here, and just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor.
Oh, no, you're good. Thank you. If it would be perfect if you could add one thing to your message, which would be, please don't text us, right, for the questions, because we get, when there's an outage, like Nate said, I get text messages, I get phone calls, and so this is going to be so fantastic to be able to let people know in real time what's going on, and for them to know that they can count on those text messages, so they don't have to go to Facebook, and they don't have to turn to us. So thank you so much for all you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Conflicts of interest. Nothing to declare. Okay, we're looking good on that. All right, consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to move the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we move consent items A and B, approval of minutes of October 5th, and appointment of Planning Commissioner Megan Seavey.
Yes. All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Is Megan here by any chance? You, Megan?
Hello, Megan.
Can we acknowledge? Yay!
Megan, good job. Thank you for accepting an opportunity to serve on Planning Commission. We're excited to have you. Okay, call for a vote. Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to action item 6A. Request to rezone 13.5 acres at 1387 South Sunset Drive from R1 LD to R1 LD with a planned unit development overlay. For Brad Walters, I'll turn the time over to Melinda to present this.
Thank you, Mayor. This may sound familiar to some of you. So I believe the rezone on this to the R1 LD was completed last year. And subsequently after that, subdivision, preliminary and final subdivision was approved. Earlier this year, the applicant, Mr. Walters, started construction on the project, and unfortunately, the infrastructure that was installed didn't meet city standards, and that left him with a couple of options. One would be to tear out the infrastructure and put it in to meet city standards and proceed with the public road, or to change and have that road become a private road. We only allow private roads when there's a PRUD overlay. So that necessitated this rezone application that functionally isn't changing anything about the zoning or density. It's just changing this to allow the private road. So just real quick and in review, as the mayor said, this is 13.5 acres. Prior to this rezone, it's been used as agricultural property. For those who may not know, also the R1 LD is a zone that gives some flexibility in lot sizes, but overall the entirety of the project, the lot size can't exceed more than 2 units per acre. So most of the lots, and so you could have some that are a little bit larger than a half acre, a little bit smaller, as long as that just evens out in the end. So there's just an aerial of where the property is located down on Sunset Drive. Given the nature of this just kind of being an odd duck, I thought I would provide to you the subdivision that will be coming back to the council if the rezone is approved. And the subdivision, both preliminary and final, will have to be redone because if the PRED is approved, they'll have to change to show a private road. They have to create an HOA. They'll have to dedicate the maintenance of that road to the HOA. And so, but this is just a view of what the project should look like once it's completed. That large lot there, it's over 5 acres, but my understanding is that Mr. Walters will be living there himself, and then these other 14 lots total will be sold. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this on October 26th. There were no comments received during the meeting. We did have one comment that came through prior through our email, our online form, that that expressed concerns about a boundary between the two properties and fence, but we let the resident know that that's something that needs to be addressed between the two private property owners. So the the Planning Commission that night voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the PRUD overlay. And we are recommending the same, that the council approve this. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And also Mr. Walters is here this evening as well.
Thank you very much, Melinda. Mr. Walters, would you like to, does anyone have any questions for him?
I have a question for
Melinda?
Melinda.
Okay, I was just going to say, would you like to comment on your project? No? Okay, go ahead.
Just, I mean, maybe you could give us an understanding of what didn't meet the standards.
Yeah, so the minimum asphalt width that we allow for a public road is 30 feet. The curb gutter was not poured to allow anything more than 23 feet. And so it's the width of the road that that would not meet our city standards.
And
will you clarify in terms of it still meets other standards? I mean, in terms of a fire truck can still get in, turn around.
So anytime we have a private road, we do an internal review with, fire needs to approve that. And Chief Erickson has stated that the 23 feet, I think actually we require 24 feet of width for a private road, but if you include the gutter on both sides, that gets to your 24 feet, and Chief Erickson was okay with that. So I hope that answered your question.
yeah, I think it did. I mean, that was my big thing, was that the chief, a lot of this stuff comes back to us, right? Because something happens and somebody says, oh, I can't believe the city approved that, even though, and so I don't know. I mean, it's just happened recently where we kind of get thrown under the bus where, and so I guess I'm trying to make sure that this isn't just like an end around.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, again, we have to go back through the subdivision process, because we want to make it very clear in those recorded documents whose responsibility of maintenance and all of that the road is. The utilities have already been installed, and to my knowledge, those have been approved, for lack of a better term, by Public Works as to where they're located. But commonly what does happen when we allow privately owned infrastructure in the community is that whether it's 10 years, 15 years down the line, the HOA comes back and says, we can't afford this, and wants the city to take on that burden. And our answer has always been, and should be, we won't do that unless you reconstruct or bring to us a product that meets city standards. There's a reason why we have those standards in place. It is so public safety access can into plows, and solid waste removal can get in there, and so having that recorded then with the subdivision that shows very explicitly, this is not the city's responsibility is very helpful, because anybody who purchases a lot, they should have that through their title report.
So we won't be responsible to plow this road or to pick
No.
up garbage on that road? Or?
I think we still will do garbage collection off of private roads, but we won't do snow removal. And, and like we said, we want to make sure that our public safety departments can get through those private roads to be able to respond when emergencies come up.
And then this is my last question. So did we miss, I mean, because it seems like the road's been poured already. Was it because did we miss that it was not 30 feet when the designs came through, or how did that?
No.
Okay. Is that normal for it to be poured before we've approved the PRUD?
Well, simply put, the PRUD wouldn't be needed if they would have installed the infrastructure correctly.
Right.
There's construction drawings that the city approved that clearly shows the right-of-way that's required, and there's a screenshot of the city standards that shows a matrix that says if it's 50 feet, it has to be 30 feet of asphalt. I don't know why it wasn't installed correctly, but it's not something that the city feels there's any liability for.
We do, just to let everyone know, we have quite a few private roads within the community, and many cities do. So Councilmember Oakes is joining us remotely. I forgot to mention that. He's sick at home. He did have a question, so I'll read his question just so it's part of it. He said, how did the street measurements get missed, which is basically what Councilmember Adams asked. My understanding of it is that on the plat, it says that it's built according to city standards, and the standards were acknowledged, and the road was built differently. So that is why they're requesting the opportunity to have a PRUD overlay. It still allows for public safety to access it. The city's not responsible, as they mentioned, for snowplow removal and for maintenance of that road, but it will be maintained by the HOA, right? Councilmember Jackson, do you have any comments? Okay.
Yeah, question. Just historically speaking, into what you said, Mayor, we have a lot of private roads. Have we, to your knowledge, received any complaints over the years about issues where HOAs kind of quit removing snow? Or, I'm just a little bit hesitant and concerned because, like what Councilmember Adams said, I don't want to get 10 years down the line and have folks say, oh, the city really should have thought about this. And so,
well, historically, the community I worked for previously would not allow any subdivisions off of private lanes, private drives. Kaysville has a completely different philosophy, and we allow them here. There's a number of roads throughout the community that are privately owned. Is there any liability or responsibility to us? No, and we make sure that is adequately clear through the process of the subdivision. And that doesn't mean that, again, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, what ends up happening is HOAs don't charge an adequate amount of fees to have the maintenance. They don't carry, I guess, a budget adequate enough to have the maintenance done on those roads. Asphalt doesn't last forever. And that's when we do have those groups come to the city and request that we assist them. I've worked in Utah in 4 different local government jurisdictions, and not one of them has been willing to take over that infrastructure for the HOA, simply because, again, they are not willing to bring it up to city standards. So that's a great question. I don't think there's really any risk or liability to us, but it does seem like inevitably HOAs come back to the city and say, we can't afford this. Well, they bought into that, right? And again, that's shown on their title report, on the recorded plat. And so it's hard, honestly, for us to say to our residents, we're sorry, we're not going to help you, but it wouldn't be fair to the rest of our residents who you know, essentially the cost of that infrastructure that gets installed gets built into the amount of how much somebody pays for a lot. It wouldn't be fair for us to say, okay, we'll bill you particular group of residents out at the expense of all the other residents in our city.
Yeah, and just to follow up to that, you know, we've had other HOAs in the community that they haven't been able to maintain certain space because of the lack of funds, and that is a concern to me. Is there any indication, well, let me back up a little bit. So, you know, when we have a case like this where it wasn't done up to standards, built out to standards, I'm a little bit concerned that it's like an HOA in a private street is kind of an afterthought just to make do with a poor situation. I almost wonder if, as a city, we need to be a little more stringent, or there needs to be some sort of repercussion. And of course, if the city makes a mistake, then yeah, there should be some accountability there as well. But, and I'm not so much against private streets either, but I'm a little concerned about this. I almost feel like it needs to be widened up to city standards. Any indication of the cost estimate to the property owner?
We do have the property owner here. Brad, would you like to come up and speak to that?
So maybe let me start by making a simple statement that I am not in agreement that the responsibility is entirely mine as the developer.
Maybe specify what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. Will you clarify? Because
I prefer to leave it at that specifically I think this is shared responsibility.
You mean on the miss, on it not being the right size?
Yeah.
Oh.
So jointly between me as the developer and the city. And we've had some discussions about that, and I think we've agreed that this is the path of least resistance. The development is done. We're in the final 2 days of getting the gas put in. But we have asphalt, and the single issue is the road is 23 feet. All parties believed it was going to be 30 feet. And I'm not going to say that anybody in this room has fault, but professional engineers from both organizations reviewed the specifications, and they were missed. There is precedence for more narrow roads across the city, and HOAs that are very responsible with snow removal. Brookhaven up in East Kaysville. I mean, it's a problem. They're all older people. My parents live there. It's a challenge, the snow removal, if it's not done correctly, if there's not adequate funds in the HOA. But on Sunset, there's a private drive at the very north end. There's one halfway down Trailside that's more narrow than 23 feet. And then there's one up on Burton. So there's a lot of them in the city. It's unfortunate, but the cost would be astronomical, because it's not just moving the curb and gutter. And I'm the one that noticed it. I went out there and I stood out there after they poured the curb and gutter, and I said, this is just too narrow. And then I asked a couple of professionals, and I'll defer to your professionals on all sides. And everybody was like, well, no, it's 30 feet. I said, it's not 30 feet. And the end result was we couldn't just move the curb and gutter. We had already put in the infrastructure. When I say the infrastructure, I mean
underground utilities,
power, and I will say that the process has gone very well, and we've passed all of the assessments and inspections with the city inspectors, and it's gone very well. I mean, the project is very high quality, including the quality of the asphalt and the location and everything. So we are where we are.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Yeah,
so
please do.
if the city did require you to bring it up to standards, would you have to move power and other infrastructure that you've already put in?
Underground infrastructure as well as everything above ground.
Okay.
Brad, I have a question. So this. Oh.
If possible, some of that I don't know would be possible and be able to adhere to the standards or specifications.
I know you're building a home in your neighborhood. You're going to live there.
Yep.
So that being said, if you're suggesting that it is a 50-50 sort of shared miss, and I don't know.
Yep.
As a resident of that community, what do you think the right thing to do would be?
There's, the road's not that narrow. And I've spent a lot of time going around the city, driving on roads that are more narrow than 30 feet, and talking to people that live in those. And I am 100% of the belief that it's not a big deal. And I live in a subdivision that is a city street, HOA, and because of the way people park on that, the thoroughfare is less than 23 feet on almost any given time, even after November 1st when we're not supposed to park on the streets. So.
Right.
When you say it's not going to be a big deal, sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I believe people are already transacting through traffic areas that are more narrow than these.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree. I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think the issue would be like somebody moves in and like whoever's in charge of the HOA and getting the snow plowed doesn't get plowed, and they call the city and they're like, our streets are never getting plowed, and it's like, well, yeah, because it's private.
Yeah, I get it.
So you're not suggesting that the city take on the responsibility
Never.
of plowing the road?
Never.
You're okay.
I believe that and the infrastructure is the responsibility as per the PRUD and HOA agreement of the neighborhood
of the HOA.
And I believe that the people, it's a nice subdivision. I think.
Yeah.
I've got 38 families lined up to interested in
including your own. I mean, it makes a difference, including you personally are going to be living there.
So it'll be a nice subdivision with people that are committed to making it look good.
Okay.
So that's.
Oh, okay. The reason I asked that is because I could sense your frustration, and I was thinking, okay, are you thinking this? But are you thinking this is dangerous? This is going to be a bad idea to allow a 23-foot street. Okay.
And,
just wanted to make sure that.
No, I don't live on a road that's that. I argue that I do live on a road that's more narrow than that, frankly. But I believe that it will not be, and the people that I've talked to, there's one on the end of, up on Burton, and there's a couple of other private drives where I've talked to people that have, there's actually 12 lots plus our lot, and the traffic that goes through that, I don't believe it'll be dangerous at all. I'm more concerned about the busy nature of Sunset, frankly, and anybody that's been down there.
I live there too,
Those busy times down there, Western.
It is busy.
So when we get a light there, right?
Right.
Mayor.
Yes. Oh, Councilmember Blackham.
I'm going to get away from the finger pointing part of it, and I'm going to say that I live on a private street, and I absolutely love living on a private street. I know because I live on my private street, I've been able to get my asphalt within the last 10 years or so. I've had it crack sealed 3 times, and I've had it slurried twice, but that's up to me, and it's up to me to get the snow plowing done. I can go out there when there's 1 inch out there. I can go out there if there's 10 inches out there, and I also can write in the HOA, which we have, there's no parking on the street portion, and so people can't park out in the street. They have to park in their driveways. They're the designated parking areas, and from a city standpoint, the fact that we don't have to maintain and plow a street is a positive. I think that's, and that onus is going to come on the homeowners and the HOA. And that's why the city's responsible to make sure there is an HOA. And that's what Melinda's talking about. We make sure, so we get out of that liability. But as far as actually living on a private street and having control over it is, obviously you've got to collect money for that to pay for things, in which you will. I like it. It's positive for me. I like the fact that I can get my street maintained sooner if I want to, if we'll pay for it. And usually people want to, because they know if they don't, it's a huge cost at the end if you don't. And so, what got us here, I don't know, but the fact that there's a fix of putting an overlay and it's a private street, and if it actually might make, in some people's thoughts and cases, it might make your lots more desirable, actually.
That's what I'm hearing from the people that we've talked with.
And
They
so
prefer some guidelines around it.
I don't think it's I don't think the onus or the negative is ever going to come back to the city. I see it as being a kind of a positive to the city itself, but the fact that we have a lot of street that we are not responsible for, and we don't have to try to add it to our snow plowing and all that. So, I mean, I think there's some real positives there, and I think there's positives for the homeowners. You know, I mean, if it was a situation where you didn't collect the money and they didn't have money to do it, but I don't think from looking at what I'm seeing down there that that's ever going to be the issue.
Never.
And so, in this case, I just don't see a negative to it really at this point. I see it fixing something that happened, looking at it from the positive side.
Thank you for your comments. I will mention, so, you know, I've lived here a long time too, and there have been other HOAs who have said, hey, come plow my street, and the city simply says, it's a private street, and we don't plow it. And it's, and they're kind of disappointed, but when they buy their property, they know this is part of an HOA, and so it's normal. It happens. So anyway, Councilmember Hunt.
I just had a quick question for you. Are you planning on then restricting the parking on the street so that it's not as congested there?
There's a lane coming off the main, if you've seen that. We may allow it on Spur Lane, this little section down here.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing we consider. But no, on the main road, Summit Lane, yeah, we do not want any parking on that.
Okay, thank you.
And if you'll notice, the lot size and the shape are good sized. I think we should be able to.
This is going to be a beautiful neighborhood, so,
Yeah, I think so.
Super excited about it. Councilmember Jackson, did you have a?
Yeah, just another point. So, and, you know, as Councilmember Blackham spoke, I kind of resonated with a few of the points that you made. Some of our streets, just this one up here, it's so wide. Every time I drive down it, I kind of chuckle because it's far too wide. And then we have streets that are much more narrow like this. But, you know, if it is a private road, you can set a mile per hour at 15. And the average car is 6 feet wide, and so that would leave, even if you had cars parked on both sides, there'd still be 2.5 feet roughly on each side. And so I think there's probably a way to do it, and it's hard to tell looking at the data that we received, who's at fault, who wasn't at fault, whatnot. So I think there's an aspect to this that I don't really want to see it go to more severe levels of trying to look at the evidence and legal route or anything like that. But with that being said, I would like us to kind of tighten it up a little bit. So future potential developments, we don't kind of run into the same problem. Because I would hate, if we have more of these come across our desk, I would be very concerned. But, you know, looking at everything here, I think it might be okay to do, so.
Thank you for your comments. That kind of sounded like a motion.
I'll make a motion.
You ready for a motion? Okay.
I will make a motion that we approve the request to rezone 13.5 acres, 1387 South Sunset Drive from R1LD, residential single family low density, to R1LD with a planned residential unit development or PRUD overlay.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Comments?
The only comment I'm going to make is, Brad, I mean, I hope you didn't think that my questions were mostly, I was trying to get to the bottom of, like, it seemed like, it sounded almost like season one of a little drama story, and I just kind of was curious how it all happened. It was purely out of curiosity.
I appreciate that oversight.
Yeah, it was just purely out of curiosity, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for the homes that you're building there, you know, and I've had a lot of people ask me, oh, could I build? I'm like, yeah, good luck getting one. I mean, they're gone. But anyway, thank you so much, and Am I voting yet, or is it comments?
Comments, anyone
Oh.
else? Nope, okay, call for a vote. Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
good luck.
Thank you. If I could just restate that, what I made, a comment I made. I have been very impressed with the city staff. It is an unfortunate situation, and I appreciate the most optimum thing is to not point fingers. But through the process, I've been really impressed with the professionalism of the inspectors and everyone else, and thought that Kaysville should be proud for the oversight and the concern for our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do appreciate the great questions, because that's a great discussion. That's what we're here for. Okay, let's move on. No, he said he got kicked off the call. Councilmember Oaks got dropped from the call, so. All right. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, Nathan, we're going to get to you. I'm sorry. Let's move. Okay, so action item 6B, an ordinance amending provisions of the Kaysville City Code regarding abandoned, wrecked, or junk vehicles. Turning the time over to our staff attorney, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, it's good to be with you. We discussed this a couple of weeks ago at our as a work item. This would, if I'll just jog your memory real quick, this would allow people, the way the code is currently written, if somebody wants to work on a car, restoring a car or something like that, they need to put it behind an opaque fence. So if they have a chain link fence, it's real gray on what we're, on us enforcing on it. This would allow them to put it on the side of their house, cover it with a tarp. We have other codes that would allow us to enforce if that got junky, or if they had, you know, if they take the engine out and leave it next to that they're not allowed to do that. They're just allowed to put the car next to the house and cover it with an opaque covering if it's not registered. And I'll answer any questions if there are.
Perfect. I think this is a fantastic update to our ordinance. Anyone have any questions or comments about that? No?
Well,
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, Councilmember Jackson.
Sorry, could you clarify that a little bit confused? So someone that wants to work on their vehicle, redo their brakes or whatever,
Sure.
they would not be able to do that in their driveway?
No, you can do that in your driveway. You just can't store let's say you buy an old car and you're going to restore that car. It's a 67 Camaro or whatever. If you have to keep that car registered, if it's going to be seen, you either put it in the garage or you put it behind an opaque fence as the code is currently written. This would allow you to put it next to your house as long as it was covered with a car cover of some sort so that people couldn't see it.
Okay.
But if you're going to work on your brakes and you're going to pull them out on a Saturday, you could do that every Saturday all year round.
Or a Saturday, leave it in your driveway, finish it Sunday or whatever?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
And you said tarp or just car cover or just?
Anything that was opaque, any opaque.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
this came up at our last meeting, I think Councilmember Hunt asked about it. If you cover it with a tarp and it looks junky, I feel like our code enforcement, and I've handled a number of cases like that, and judges are pretty fair about saying that's a tarp, or 3 years later, now that looks like junk, and nobody wants to live next to something that's junky.
Yeah.
So we still have avenues to enforce on that kind of stuff, and would enforce on that kind of stuff. This would just allow them to park those cars they're working on restoring next to their homes and cover them with something.
Okay. I do like that quite a bit because, you know, in my neighborhood, we have a lot of homes with no garages and homes with only one garage. And today I was meeting residents and walked up to this guy that was working on his truck, and he lived in a very tight space in a small home, and that's the only place he could work on it. And so I don't want to be too restrictive, but I also like a beautiful city. So.
All right, sounds good. Would you like to make a motion? Someone?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we pass
6B.
6B, an ordinance amending provisions of the Kaysville City Code regarding abandoned, wrecked, and junked vehicles.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Comments? Nope, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Motion carries. All right. Now we have an opportunity to have a work item. Nathan, thank you for being patient. Nathan Rich is the director of Wasatch Integrated Waste Management, the landfill. And he's going to come and present some information to us. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to visit your fair city. This is an informational item. I'm just going to step back a little bit and talk about where this came from. With large turnover on our board 2 years ago, with your mayor now serving on that board, we took a step back and looked at how do we manage the future of our waste management facilities. We know that the Davis landfill, which is a huge part of what we do, has a limited life. So we asked a lot of questions. How long do we want that facility to last? How much waste do we transfer to make that happen? What other kinds of things do we want to see in our solid waste system? And one of the things that we came to in the plan was that we thought it was very important to support robust recycling programs throughout the district. So we know that cities that have strong recycling programs, and incidentally, Kaysville has a great recycling program, can divert upwards of 30% of the waste they generate, particularly if they have a curbside recycling program and a green waste program. They can divert a substantial quantity of the waste from the waste stream. So if it's not waste, it doesn't fill up our landfill, and even in the longer run, it's then waste that we don't have to transport. We're currently transporting about a third of our waste, 100 miles, 97 miles, to the Tecoy landfill out on the Skull Valley Reservation. And there's a substantial cost to do that. So we looked at, a year ago, we passed a resolution approving the plan, and one of the things in the plan was let's support robust recycling district-wide. So we spent a year deciding how to do that. We interviewed some peer cities. We hired Jacobs Engineering to help us come up with some best practices. We held a couple of stakeholder meetings with haulers. We're fortunate we have 3 haulers that provide all of the residential curbside service in Davis County. They're all outstanding. We got their feedback. We had a stakeholder meeting with city managers. Appreciate your attendance at that meeting, and we've crafted what we think makes sense. The key to this is, and the buzzword in the industry right now is universal service. Because that doesn't make sense and wasn't natural to me, we all know what bundled service is because we've all had that phone line with Comcast that we didn't use for the last 10 years. So we think this is going to impact our cities differently. We have strong curbside recycling programs in 9 of our 15 cities. Layton has a subscription program, so they have a long way to go, but they do have some program. We have 5 communities that are going to go from, hopefully from 0 to 100 and implement curbside program. This is not a requirement. We heard loud and clear that people don't like the word mandatory, but it's also pretty aggressive. So from the district standpoint, we want to encourage cities to move forward with a bundled program. What bundled means is simply your residents, when they sign up or when they get their utility bill, there is one fee, and within that fee they get their first garbage can and their first recycling can. So there won't be an a la carte menu. If someone doesn't want their recycling can, we'll be working with, and I'm jumping forward a little bit with some educational material, but if they don't want that recycling can, that's fine. We'd like them to think about whether they do or not, but if they don't want the recycling can, but it doesn't change their service fee. In a modern solid waste system, we just believe that everyone should have a recycling can to go along with their garbage can. By volume, you'll see about half of the garbage go into the recycling can. By weight, it's quite a bit less than that, but by volume. So there's an environmental benefit. There's also a direct benefit to the way we manage our system moving forward. So basically, we're don't panic, because we gave ourselves plenty of time to implement this. The board passed a resolution. Staff's recommendation was that the first fee change would be on January 1st of 2025, giving us a full 12 months, and they pushed that another 6 months. So roughly 20 months from now, if cities don't have a bundled service, then the household use fee that they pay to the district goes up by $2. So Kaysville, because you already have a good recycling program, you won't see a lot of change in your pricing. Cities that don't have recycling programs should be able to roll out recycling programs in the neighborhood of somewhere between $3 and $4 per household per month. One thing we also know is that to keep unit costs down, the higher participation, the lower the hauler should be charging you for his hauling fee, because two things happen. One is the stops are closer together, so it's more efficient to pick up recycling. The other thing is the hauler also benefits from there being less garbage in the garbage can. And so that blended cost, you should see some relief in that. And like I say, we've been working with all the haulers. A couple other things I just want to point out, and then I'd be happy to any questions that I can take. We have a lot of time. Was this forwarded to the council? I put this little worksheet together. It's kind of a little information, and this hopefully will be helpful.
I don't think we got the worksheet. Yeah, we didn't get the worksheet.
Yeah, the worksheet would be better. The PowerPoint was long, and this is just 2 pages in the points that are kind of salient. We're currently advertising a position for a full-time recycling and education coordinator. So we'll have full-time staff to develop the educational resources, and also to visit not just city councils, but any other city-sponsored meetings or something that we can help with cities getting the message out. More importantly than just the message about this program and the bundled service is to have uniform and high-quality educational materials about what belongs in the cans. Because 2 things will improve performance. One is putting more cans out, and the other one is to get uniform, good education for residents about what they can put in the can and what we want them to put in the can. The other thing, we are working with the Recycling Partnership, which is a 501c3, and they provide grants for exactly this. So they will provide grants up to $15 per garbage can to help the city defray the costs of the additional cans we need to put on the street. And they'll also spend $1 per household to help with educational outreach. So I could see us doing some mailers, a few things like that in advance of the switch from your a la carte menu to the bundled recycling. That's going to take us a little while to put in place. I see us ready to start doing educational outreach and push end of first quarter of next year, or so, in that maybe April time frame. So there's time to be thinking about it and how the council wishes to proceed. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to mention Kaysville is currently at about 70% for 73% recycle participation, just voluntarily.
Yeah.
So and really, if people have a green recycle can instead of 2 black cans, which a lot of people have, that will reduce their cost per household. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of mention that. Do you guys have any questions?
I do have a question, just because I might not be the norm of these people sitting up here, but I feel like there's a lot of people who are like me in the city. My kids are all gone. It's me and my wife. I could put my one garbage can I might be able to put out there once every 3 weeks.
Whoa.
And so.
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible, but.
Well, I looked at it tonight to see how much there was, because it's my garbage night, and there's that much in the bottom.
My word.
You know, so.
What do you guys
So I'm
eat,
trying
your
to say,
garbage?
so for me, it's one of those deals where we're already 73% participation.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, to tell me that I have to bundle something, I would be one of the guys that you would say, you have to participate in this. You're going to cost you more money. And I tell you, but don't bring me a green can, because I don't have anywhere to put it and I don't want it. So I like the idea of it being optional. And I like the fact that Kaysville residents, I think they're being very responsible, because the ones who who generate a lot of garbage and believe in it
You're looking at all of us, by the way.
are doing what you want them to do. And even in some of the cities that I didn't understand in your deal, where it talked about it was implemented that they had the bundling requirement, but they were only like 70% compliant. So I didn't really get that.
No, we only have one city in Davis County.
Okay,
that
one
currently
city.
bundles their service. It was actually interesting. I gave a tour to Washington Terrace earlier today, and they bundle their fee. I wasn't aware of that. So we're currently processing some Weaver County waste in the material recovery facility. So that city council wanted to come down and see what was happening to their recyclables. So I'm an empty nester as well, and I hear what you're saying, but I will tell you, in fact, what happens now is I still need my garbage can to go weekly, particularly in the summer, because my wife sits our grandchild and there's diapers in there. But if I don't put green waste in that garbage can, it is only this full. But after 2 weeks, my recycling bin is often almost overtopping because of my Amazon habit. There's a lot of cardboard boxes. There's a lot of plastic and aluminum cans that are recyclable. So I do understand what you're saying, and Kaysville does have a great program and is doing a good job. We just know that we can divert more waste if we do some things to make that program. Now it may be a little painful when you and a few other residents show up and say we don't want that can. If you talk with cities after a little way down the road, Wally Larrabee is our board member from Woods Cross, and for them it's almost like a point of pride that the way they recycle, and it's become I think sort of a little bit of the fabric in the community. So anyway, I apologize for rambling on now.
That's fine. I was just going to say, I'm like the opposite of Mike. I'm the guy that's out there at like 11 o'clock at night, like sneaking over to the neighbors. I mean, maybe that's against the law to put your garbage in other people's thing, but did I just admit something? Don't write that down.
Depends on your relationship with your neighbors.
Yeah, they're fine. I'm taking their garbage out. So it's like they haven't taken their garbage out because they're like Mike, and I'm like, I'm just going to take it out and put my garbage in it. Anyway, the big thing though that I was curious, so is it coming still, it's the people who have already signed up for it, you were mentioning the cost for them increase is virtually nothing, right?
So I think this is a really important maybe point to make. What the city charges the residents is independent of what we charge the city, right? So it's very natural that what you charge your residents is a direct reflection of the household use fee we charge, and then you tack on the hauler's charge per can, and then the city typically retains some fee to handle the billing and some of the other solid waste services you might have. But you can those monies flow into an enterprise fund, and you can turn around and charge, right? The way you're charged doesn't necessarily need to reflect the way that you turn around and charge your residents. So I would think that you would make the cost the same to all of your residents. Now, this is the other point that I think is going to be interesting. When you last bid your hauling contract, and before I say this, I want you to know that Steve Robinson and I are pretty friendly, very professional, but he's aware of this conversation, because one of the things we've been concerned about is what is this going to cost cities that are rolling out from ground zero. So when you got your cost, he gave you the cost on that recycling can based on a little bit lower participation rate, based on that he was going to haul it all the way to Salt Lake City. There's 2 material recovery facilities in Salt Lake City, and pay a tipping fee to drop those recyclables off when they get there. Today, that tipping fee is higher because the value of recyclables is low. It's a market that swings wildly. What's changed is now he's hauling that material to the material recovery facility, so it's a shorter haul, and the processing cost of those recyclables is already included in your household use fee that you pay to the district. So when you go back to Mr. Robinson and say,
he's really not going to like you.
I know he's not, but he came to our board meeting,
Yes.
and you know,
Yeah.
we've had these very honest conversations about it, and he understands too that, you know, the recycling, more recycling going in the recycling bin, it saves him money on the hauling side as well. Now he has to sort of blend those costs, but anyway, our hope has always been that as cities pull on the recycling and as they rebid their contracts, as their contracts come up, that some of that cost savings will make it to the city. I think this program will force that a little bit, because cities are going to have to reach out to the hauler and say, how many residents are we take? 10,000 in Kaysville? So, you know, you're going to have a conversation with Mr. Robinson about where do we get 3,000 more cans, and where do you get the truck and the people to service those. But those are also, you know, that's what he does and how he makes his money. So it's a win-win.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And great. We appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. It's a work item, guys, which means that we wanted to be aware of it. It's not mandatory, so we can continue to have discussions about it as we move forward. Okay? And it won't implement until 2026. So, but thank you for being here. Yeah.
Can I say something to that?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a recycling can. We have the same problem where we fill it up, and I'm going to the neighbor's house my wife shops too much at Amazon. I like the cost savings aspect of it, and the more buy-in you have, the more the cost comes down, and it's better for the environment. One thing I am a little bit concerned about, and this probably has nothing to do with your presentation or this, I guess, opportunity at the moment, but you know, my brother lives in Sugar House, and he has city workers that they will literally open up his can and look to see if there's wrong items in the recycling can, and they'll get fined for it. It's just kind of crazy. And so I don't expect that to happen here, but I just wouldn't want to be in a situation to where it goes to everyone has to have a can, and then it starts moving to we need to recycle more, and then more government oversight of opening cans and whatnot. And maybe that's unfounded, but just something that I like the fact that we have time to talk about this and to flush out some of these things. So,
You good? I was going to say, Jason, did you have any comments on it?
No, I'll put out an email tomorrow with some additional information in that worksheet as well. I was going to say that we've been fortunate with Robinson too. They've held our rate flat for a number of years, despite all the cost increase with supply chain and labor and everything else. And one of the reasons is they've been able to subsidize offset the cost of the waste hauling with the recycling, which has been great. So our contract with Robinson actually terminates on June 30th of next year. So we're working with them right now and getting some proposals. We'll get a variety of proposals, continuing the same plan we have now, as well as if we decide to go with a bundled rate in the future, we'll get all that pricing locked in. But obviously they've been a great provider for the city for a number of years, and get very, very few calls missed pickups and things like that, so. Just
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, that is council member, it's time for council member reports. Do we have anything? And then I will remind the council, we will go into a closed session after this meeting, so. New comments? All right, okay. Would someone like to make a motion to dismiss? Oh, sorry. Oh, Jason, whoops, I just hit my mic there.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, say that again, Mayor.
Sorry, do you have anything to report as city manager report? Thanks.
I'll make it super quick. I'll put most of it tomorrow in my report, but just a reminder that I think maybe most of you might have heard about the Davis Tech College plan that's ongoing to build a CDL driving range and relocate their sandbox for their heavy equipment training to a different part of campus, and that's got a lot of the residents up on 700 North in that area, the northeast corner of campus, very concerned, a lot of questions. And the DTC has a meeting planned at 5:30 next Tuesday of next week, to answer those questions, explain to the residents what they're doing. This is all really just state oversight. We don't have a lot of say in what they do. We believe it's the proper use for that zone. It's training. So even though it is different, it obviously feels like a very industrial type of use, but it is an allowed use. But you are all invited. I'm planning to attend as well. I believe Melinda's planning to attend, and we'll just kind of hear what the concerns are. And I'm glad to see the DTC reaching out to the residents and taking the lead on just trying to address that and hopefully mitigating some of the concerns. So just a couple of
POC, just real quick on that, Jason. Nick, is there any issue with us all coming to that as far as it being
No, because you're not going to take action, or you shouldn't discuss items, obviously, that are going to be on future agendas or anything. But no, this isn't a meeting being convened by the mayor or by a quorum of the city council. This is a meeting being called by DATC, so all of you could attend.
Okay, sorry, Jason. Yeah.
Good question. Another quick thing, just to tip our hats to Gordy, our building inspector. He passed his electrical inspection exams, and that's a big deal. He's now a fully licensed commercial inspector, which means he can do mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So that'll really help a ton. I think Jim was the only one who had that full MEP certification before, so that's great news. And then finally, in the past, we've had a legislator dinner with the council and our state legislators. We'd like to do that again. The mayor thought of this, and we're looking at next December 7th, right before the next council meeting at 5:30 here at City Hall. Wanted to check everyone's calendars and see if you'd be able to attend just an informal dinner with our legislators. 5:30 before the next council meeting on the 7th.
Yes, that seems to work.
Great, perfect. So we'll go ahead and try to get that set up.
Thank you.
And that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jason. All right. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Going to a closed session?
Yes.
I'll make
a
motion that we go into a closed session.
Okay, for those that are in the public, we appreciate you being here. Thank you. We'll excuse you, and we will move into a closed session after a 5-minute break.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I assume you're
all in favor? Yes, yes, yes. Why did I keep saying motion to adjourn?